We live. We live. We live. Um, I don't know much, but I know that at 40, I got the rom com coming. I don't know if it's a movie. I don't know if it's a series, but by 40, that's the definitive goal. And I've been saying that it's dependent on the success of the first step and limiting myself, and maybe that does become the first step, right? The goal is to have my hands in all these different things, all these different creative outlets, so that eventually something hits. One thing hits, and then everything else connected to it gets some more exposure. And maybe it is until I'm 40, right? Maybe I just keep getting by because that's just not the timing, right? Accepting timing and knowing that life is gonna pan out when it does. Excuse me, fan is loud. I got heat. I got heat. I got heat. I got heat. And not even like the first step, right? I talk about all things self, all things community. The first step is establishing something for myself. I need to create to a point where I have a respected perspective so that I can present the grand ideas for the community aspect. I got two 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 good ideas for the black experience in the United States. And I have one great idea for Haiti. That's what I'm working toward. And I'm always hoping that the first step that I have to take gives me enough time to, this exhale, right? I've been, I've kept my my own foot on my own neck these past, could it be this past decade? I've been saying 10 years. This started really in 2012, so 10 years, yeah, it's 10 years. I'm always on go. I'm always on go. I'm always on go. Because I've spent so much time not being on go, spent so much time in bed, spent so much time letting it all pass me by. On one aspect, right, it's catching up for lost time. It's going to the extreme opposite of what I used to be. 'Cause that's the only way to really let go of the past, right? It's going to the extreme, going to the other side of the abyss. And that's how you end up overworked, exhausted, and burnt out. Cause you don't remember to exhale enough. Granted, I've been doing it more. Like I said, 6-day work week. Wednesday from now on, Wednesdays. Wednesdays. That's my day. I'm used to I'm used to it. I'm used to it. Sunday used to be my only day off from work and school back in the day. Sunday used to be my only day off when I lived in Miami. What's that? That's a weird sound. Sorry. Working 70 hours a week. It was, yo, I work. It's just what I do. I keep busy. I keep busy. I keep busy. But I keep keeping busy for other people. I keep benefiting them. I don't save. I'm not good at saving money. I'm not good at saving money. I'm s- I, Sometimes I'm just on that nigga shit. YOLO, right? YOLO, right? I'm only gonna live once. Let me just enjoy this money. When it run out, it run out. I'm, And that's old thinking, right? I've gotten better. I've gotten a lot better. And that's, fixing my credit and all of that. But I lost the thought. But anyway, I'm used to the burnout, man. I'm used to the burnout. I'm used to the burnout. And not even burnout. I'm just used to working for other people. And the goal these past 10 years, even though I'm still working for other people, was to work on myself alongside that. Yeah, I never. Once I made the decision to start and actually do this and actually go on this self healing journey, I've never said fuck it. I'm not. This is whack, and like really meant it. Really meant it. The breakthrough moments. I talk about that day on the beach meditating in the rain. I talked about sitting under the blood moon. The next day, homeless guy underneath my AC. And I want to offer him something, man. I don't know his experience, but that's what we're socially conditioned to do. We see homeless people. You give what you can. If you sit underneath the AC, I go in the chicken I had, rotisserie chicken, and like I put it in a bag and I'm gonna give it to him. I'm like, nah, like yo, when's the last time he? Cause like thinking like when's the last time he had like a warm meal? So I take the chicken, I put it in the oven, put a little salt and pepper, season it. I'm like, I'm like, nah, but you can just give a man chicken and that's it. So I go in the fridge. I go in my closet because I like warm juice. I put the juice in the fridge. I put it in the freezer. Periodically, like I'm looking out the window, making sure he's still there. I'm checking the chicken. I'm like, yo, hurry up. Like, yo, hurry up. I don't want it to dry out. I'm like, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. I come outside, I say, yo. And he said, God bless you to me. In the past, the arrogant me is like, ain't no God. Because I was agnostic, born again, atheist and born again, and now agnostic. It could be whatever. But when he said that, my mind is transitioned straight into the universe is my God. It's just the first thing I thought of. I don't know why. I just thought the universe is my God. And that was it. That was the pivot to the next the next grand experience. In between those periods, right, there's the exhaustion, being tired. Like December, I was exhausted in December. That Black Friday transition, the holiday, it's exhaustive, and it led to rethinking this, past professional experiences, and like I need a different dynamic. I'm a different person now, so I need a different career dynamic. Too far off topic. I'm gonna keep taking steps. I'm gonna keep taking steps because the end goal, the end vision that I have, that I want for the community, man, I think is dope. And I haven't heard anyone talk about it. I haven't. Nah, nothing. And maybe someone does present it before I'm at a point where I can. Right. For me, I'll try to get in. Right. See how I can support, since I have a similar ethos, a similar mission. Right. That's what work should be. Work should be right. When you look at nonprofits, you see their values, you see their ethos, you see their purpose. You join for that reason, and because they compensate you. But too much of the culture is, I'm just here for compensation for my time. It's a good transition to something else, but I don't want to do that just yet. I don't do that just yet. Um, that's what it has to be for. It has to be for the greater experience. Doing rethinking the 48 laws of power on TikTok, and the whole premise is understanding that the laws of power, they are narcissistic, they are manipulative, they are toxic, right? That's the word nowadays. But they are beneficial, right? If you restructure some of the language, all it is not letting other people take advantage of you, not being a sucker, not being a mark. That's all it is. 48 laws of not being a mark. 48 laws of not being a doja. 48 laws of not being a herb. It's all the same thing. It's just different language, so we fault it. And granted, again, some of the language is manipulative. So I'm rethinking it and angling it toward creatives. Right? Part of being creative is the social contract. It is the individual contract that you make with yourself, that you will honor yourself and that you will provide and express yourself. It's twofold. You're doing it for yourself, you're doing it for other people, whatever it is, right? Anything you create that you're presenting, you're doing it for other people as much as you're doing it for yourself. And that's what some of the value has to be. It can't just be for self. It can't just be for self. I go on Twitter. I read the news, and it's for self, right? It's for self. Our culture right now is for self. It's all they left us, right? Also, so many levels, this is all they left us. All they've left us is ourselves. They've taken away the power of a country, of a state, of a city, of a community, of a neighborhood. We don't trust nobody. You don't trust your neighbors. You don't trust anybody. That's the new culture, right? They ripped all that away from us, so all we have is ourselves. That's why we talk in echo chambers. That's why we only talk to people who think like us. We could jack ourselves off. Excuse me. I was a mad shit on my phone. yeah. It's all self-serving. It's all self-serving. It's all they left us. It's all they left us. That's why there's so many of us doing it, right? So many of us out here creating content. It's the only way to survive. Some people are doing it for the narcissism, right? Some people are doing it just for attention. Some people are just doing it for their ego. But there's also a whole beautiful, I'm not saying in a judgmental way, but a whole beautiful side that's doing it for creativity, for passion, for art, for the human experience, for growth. That's not what goes viral though, right? So if it's the minority, but it exists, then that's just the culture. That's just the way it is. That's just where we are as people. So you accept it, but it's always a reminder that there are other people doing their part. And in case you forgot, you should, and need to do your part too. It's just me though. It's just me. I was thinking about OnlyFans earlier today, and never in my wildest imagination as a teen that I think something like that would exist on this level, on this scale. And this is in no way judging anyone for their life choices. Like I said, this is all that they've given us, ourselves. All I can do is just sell myself. You get the bag how you get the bag. That's society, right? You gotta get it how you can. I support that. But thinking that what's the percentage, right? If it feels like everyone's doing it, because that's what the conditioning and the culture teaches us and tells us everyone's doing it, but everyone isn't doing it, right? What more is it? What more is there to offer? What is there left to offer, right? And realistically, it's all of us are just. I mean, that's what, like I said, goal ideal for a creative is to be an artist. So that's all we're doing, is just sharing a piece of ourselves, hoping to make some money. I'm just trying to get by. I'm just trying to get by. Again, yes, some for the fame, some for the notoriety, some for the ego, but also some for the the greater experience. It's to again, the Galt's conditioning. It's always focused on the conditioning and thinking about like seeing this web connect, or seeing this line connect, or seeing this like timeline flow, seeing the end result of how something started and why it is the way it is, why it exists the way it does currently. It's weird. It's weird thinking about that all the time and processing everything like that all the time. I'm always interested in fault, right? What caused this to happen? What was the cause? What was the cause? How do we not repeat the same mistakes, which we just can't seem to not avoid? Yesterday I was thinking about the black experience. What else, right? What else do I think about but the black experience? Thinking about the power of the internet, thinking about the power of being connected. I was thinking about Martin Luther King Jr. I was watching a podcast, and I think someone brought up Martin Luther King Jr. And I was thinking about Martin Luther King Jr., his legacy, his work, his impact on the black experience. And, he was assassinated. And as history has told it predominantly, like it just gets glazed over, like nothing happened after that. And I think I learned this like within the past 2 years, that like there were riots, people showed out, people showed up, people showed out. thinking about like you go the timeline, right? You think about lynching, slavery, Jim Crow slavery, um, and then the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. Lynching was perfectly legal, and the what feels like to me, a lot of people, right, that the assassination was just another form of modern lynching, right? You just do it covertly. There's no one to blame, but deep down, you have a feeling that you know who you know who did it, right? You know who was involved, right? Certain things only happen when certain people give the okay, right? When a boss gives the okay, anything can happen. That's the reality, right? When the boss gives an okay, anything can happen. That's power. That's power. And I do the trifecta: Medgar, Malcolm, Martin Luther King Jr. And comparing it to these past 7, 8 years of watching black men die, right? And it ends with George Floyd. It's very blatantly, right? And then there's this like a national response, a global response. That enough is enough. That's what it took. That's what it took. It didn't take Eric Garner. It didn't take Sean Bell. It took George Floyd, right? It took him. So people responded. And if you were like me and you showed up to respond, to protest your legal rights, right? To show out, to show support, to let your local law enforcement know that you're also tired of their bullshit too. And on that first day, first 2 days maybe, right? It felt black. It felt black. Then the dynamic changed. And it felt other. And eventually you just stopped showing up. Because it wasn't about you anymore. It wasn't It wasn't about the collective experience anymore. It wasn't. And thinking about, right, the people. I was thinking about Biggie, thinking about Pac. I talk about how the people who get murdered, the notable figures who get murdered represent the height of a group. I guess, yeah, no, yeah. So like Biggie and Pac at that time, XXXTentacion, then the names I've mentioned before, Malcolm, all the black bodies. Thinking that if, and then George Floyd wasn't a notable person, but if that experience had happened to someone with notoriety, right? Like if Martin Luther King Jr. exists, if there was an equal not even an equal. There was someone grander than him, right? Because the future generation is supposed to be more bolder than the previous, but we're not. If Martin Luther King Jr. existed, or a greater version of him existed in this time, and he was assassinated or he was murdered, the world would burn. And I think then and only then would the black experience really change. We've these past, I'm 36, these past shit. Sometimes I'm only relative. I keep things relative to my experience. Then I have to step back and just be like, yo, that's just what it always has been. So initially, I was gonna say these past 50 years, just thinking about I branched off in the 70s, Summer of Love and all of that, and then like the 80s, 90s, and I'm thinking about this 80s crime wave and crack and all of that. And I was gonna say these past 40, 50 years, the way they've been conditioning how black people are, then it's like, nah, this is what it's always been. Oh man, it's just always has been like this. Yeah, I've been conditioning this perspective of the black man, right? Tavis Smiley says Martin Luther King Jr. is the greatest, paraphrase, the greatest person America has ever produced. I like that, and I mean, yeah, I can agree with that. For the mission, for the work, the humility, you have to be a superior type of person to believe in nonviolence. A lot of us don't have it in us, right? A lot of maybe most don't have that in us. You have to be a superior person to be able to do that. It's really heavy, right? Just really thinking about this, the disregard for it all, right? It's a disregard for the black existence. But anyway, the world would burn, and something would change. Something would change drastically, man. But nothing really changed, right? You're relatively accepted. You're only accepted because there are more people who are accepting of you and they include you versus the people who didn't want to include you, seeing that not including you was wrong, and there was no growth mindset. There was no growth mindset. Feels better because I'm in my own world. But stepping out of your own world makes you see that it is not better. The entire world is rooting for the black experience in the United States. If the black experience in the United States was able to overcome their oppression, I think that would be the most impactful, globally, I can't even phrase this, man. That would be the most globally significant event of our time because it would shift everything. It would shift everything. The entire world is rooting for the liberation of the Black experience. That's what I feel. Right, the United States is it. We're it. All eyes on us always. We know globally, we know the oppressive history of whiteness. Globally, we know the acceptance of oppression by blackness. But we know the other stories too. We know it's a I say we because I'm Haitian American. I have a once removed perspective. And again, I also believe that every situation there's mutual fault. You may be at fault for 90%. If there's 10% that's my fault, then that's 10% enough for me to switch shit up. That's how I feel. And once people just start accepting fault, I exist in this experience. I do not contribute to it. I am at fault also. What can I do? That's when things will change. That's when life dynamics will change. That's what I believe, man. I believe, it could topple anything. That's what I believe. Original. If the original man can't get it right, can't fix it. Original man can't free himself. How can I? No, you can think, you can have the lore, right? You think about a lot of these other stories about the beginning of, fuck it, right? Every story about the beginning of humanity, all the religious stories are about some superior being implanting the seed or making man and women, pulling them from the skies and stars and all of that. Nah. The black man just rose out of the dirt. That's just what it is. But we change the stories to give our culture significance. Fraudulent. People are fraudulent, man. These cultures are fraudulent. But original man. You set the tone and condition for the life experience for everyone else. It gets better. Relatively, it gets better. Yes, I'm relatively better off than a slave. But also the slave that was it. There was no other option, right? You worked with what you had. You work with what you have, yo. Like, relative, right? There's a relative overall oppression that I'm dealing with too. But the slaves' oppression was direct, daily in their face. And that's just what the life condition was at that time. Right? You only know what you're not missing out. You can't miss out on what you're not aware of. So relative, right, to this life experience, I know I'm missing out on a lot of stuff because of the life experience conditioning. And that's part of the decade of work, excuse me. till it gets better naturally. It has to. That's the only option. There has to be some type of leniency and growth in society. Populations increase, people's perspectives change, old ideas die out. But is it enough? If you're saying this is enough, then yo, that's you. Don't tell other people that it's enough for them. My enough isn't your enough. There's so much more that could be better about this about this black experience. So much more that could be better. And there are people out there making the effort to make it better, to offer new perspectives, to add some longevity to it. It's almost over. Rap is over. Rap is over. Yeezys ain't Polo. Yeezys ain't Tommy Hilfiger. Fubu is out here just recreating the past, copying stuff and just putting a logo on something. Where's the art? Where's the inspiration? It can't just be, I'm black, I made this, that's enough. Where's the love? Where's the love? And is it just like I said earlier? It's all I got, right? Maybe it's all we can afford now. Is it enough, right? That's what it is, right? Their enough isn't my enough, right? That's the duality of it, right? Your enough isn't my enough. Their enough isn't my enough. They're working with what they got, but also, right? Maybe they don't have the right inspiration. Maybe there's no one on the team like, yo, we gotta step it up, boss. They're just trying to get by, and that's where everyone else comes in, right? I'm saying it, but who am I? I'm not a fashion man. I'm not gonna go to the. I don't have time for that. That's not my industry. But the collective social responsibility is the awareness, right? To put people on and try to collaborate to expand ideas, expand culture, expand the experience. The more of us doing that, the more of us doing what we need to do for ourselves, right? There's enough uniqueness to do your thing and support other people's things. There are limited options to enjoy this life experience, expand, redefine. Redefine. Because we define it negatively, right? We define it as not having relevance. We define it as humans suck. We define it with all the pessimism. But we don't make an effort to redefine. We just define it. We accept the title and definition, and that is enough for us. That's all I got. Yeah.